The New Patriotic Party's campaign manager for the 2020 elections, Peter McMahonu, says whoever emerges running mate for the NDC flag bearer, John Mahama, will not deter the party because the ruling party is focused. Names including Professor Kwesi Botwe, Alex Moult, former GMPC boss, businessman or entrepreneur Bafwewa have all popped up for the position. Speaking on PM Express, Peter McMahonu told Aisha Ibrahim the party remains focused.
A focused party, a very strong party with a strong leader. And I can tell you that whoever would like to compliment John Mahama as his vice, we are not bothered. We are focused on our campaign, and our campaign is to win the hearts and minds of the voter so that come December 7th they will vote for us. We are not distracted by whoever becomes their vice presidential candidate. We have a solid team in the person of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia, and the whole world knows that we have a team, vice presidential candidate and vice. They don't have. If any of them comes, we are not bothered because we are focused.
And already, Mr. Peter McMahonu has welcomed the NDC's move to sign the comprehensive roadmap document put together by the National Peace Council for political parties to disband party militias.
We did it earlier. The Peace Council invited both of us to come to a signing ceremony, and the NDC did not attend. So if now they have had a change of mind and heart to do so, it's a welcome news. Ghana has been touted as a country of peace. So we have to go into this election in peace. So if NDC, what's his name, Ofosu Ampofo and his team, are now seeing peace as an essential ingredient for our democracy, it's good news, and we welcome it.
I have heard that dexamethasone is an anti-inflammatory drug believed to be able to reduce the risk of death in COVID-19 patients. It was one of the drugs studied in a large clinical trial in the United Kingdom known as Recovery, or Randomized Evaluation of COVID-19 Therapy. According to scientists, the drug reduces deaths by 1/3 in ventilated COVID-19 patients. Dexamethasone has been on the Ghanaian market for decades, and it is used to treat conditions such as arthritis and asthma. Most of the pharmacies I visited in Accra have stocks of the drug. Those that have run out of stock say they will quickly restock in anticipation of a spike in demand. Daniel Aye Entry is a certified pharmacist at Stevaco Pharmacy Limited in Newtown. He tells me more about dexamethasone.
Dexamethasone is a steroid. It's basically used for treating inflammations. So if you have inflammations of the skin, of the body, and also sometimes you can use it in the treatment of certain allergic conditions, and then also for people who have asthma, since the steroid helps in that condition, breathing problems and all that.
Many people I spoke with on the streets of Accra appear not to be aware of a dexamethasone and its newfound potency to reduce the mortality rate among infected patients.
Actually, this is my first time of hearing it, so yeah, maybe I'll go and research about it. Since maybe I'm a student though, so I'll research about it and find out.
No, I haven't heard of it. No. So like I said, I haven't heard about such a drug.
With as little as 2 Ghana cedis, one can purchase 0.5 milligrams of the capsules from a drug shop. But health experts are warning the public against the use of a drug without proper prescription from a qualified physician.
It should be prescribed. Other than that, it should be given out by a pharmacist, depending on the condition the patient walks in with or presents with. I think that they should get a prescription, since it's a prescription medication. They shouldn't just walk in to get it, and they should have in mind that it has a lot of side effects like sleep disorders. You can have skin conditions, rashes, lesions and all that. So people should be very informed, or they should know that they have to get a prescription and it has to be prescribed before they get this medication.
Prevention is better than cure, but this is not a prophylaxis. You don't take it to prevent a disease. To stay safe, the World Health Organization prescribed frequent washing of hands with soap and running water, use of alcohol-based hand rub with at least 60% alcohol. Avoid touching your eyes, nose or mouth with unwashed hands. Practice good respiratory etiquette, including covering coughs and sneezes, and stay home if sick. Emmanuel Givenus reports for Joy News.
Away from health, the National Identification Authority says it can't properly handle social distancing requirement that is expected following the resumption of the Ghana card registration and how that could affect its distribution. Now, the outfit will today continue registration exercises in the eastern region and parts of the country after the activity was brought to a halt following public backlash in the wake of coronavirus hitting Ghana. Director of Operations for the NIA, Colonel Peter Kwame Gansa, believes the expansion of public gatherings from a number of 25 to 100 will prove very beneficial.
In the expedited card issuance exercise, we are not having that problem because you get there and in a very short time, you get your card and you are off. So you're not going to find 50 people hanging around the center wanting to pick up their card. But we're going to have this when we start the mop-up. But what we've done is that at the center, when you get there, we'll find out what you've come to do, because when we have cards left, we're definitely going to have very few cards left at the end of this exercise. If it's even 50, we will still want to issue them during the mop-up. So when you get there, they'll find out from you, are you coming for registration or you're coming to pick up your card? If you are coming to pick up your card, you have a form. So we'll put your name there and then program you, maybe about 10 or 15 people, tell you that you come at 8 o'clock and then we'll take care of you. So you have an appointment for 8 o'clock, 20 people. Those coming for their cards will also have their appointment separately. You are talking of 100. When it was even 25, we managed. Before the exercise was suspended on the 20th of March, the protocol then was not to have more than 25. And we managed. Those of you who had a chance to come to the region, you see. So 100 will be even much more easier.
Well, that's it. So we're taking a break. When we come back, we'll have more for you. Mama V, say Mama V, good morning to you.
Oh, good morning, Roland Walker. How are you?
Are they good? Are
Nice,
they good?
nice.
And
We're back. It's a Thursday.
Yeah, definitely.
Week has run rather very fast, I think.
Very, very fast.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to the NPP primaries over the weekend.
Definitely.
Okay, so we're going to jump into the newspapers. We've got Joseph Kofi Frimpong Akable joining us via Zoom, as well as Inshira Ado as well. Good morning to you guys, if you can hear me. Hello, y'all. Can you say your hello again?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Sunshine Inshira Ado.
Yes, as you can see, it's a little cloudy, but yeah, we're still alive.
All right, so Joseph is going to go through the Ghanaian Times and the Daily Guide, and Shira will have the Business Finder and the Dispatch. Let me start with the Daily Graphic newspaper on the front page. Well, it's all about the NPP primaries. They've got the hot spots on the front page of the paper, so they've zeroed in on some specific areas. But the banner headline, NPP parliamentary primaries, 26 hotspots identified. Also, Legal Counsel cracks the whip on 10 law faculties. 1 million Ghana cedis earmarked for 2020 presidential pitch. NDC signs peace documents. These are the front page headlines, the Daily Graphic newspaper in the center spread.
Tell the lady, make you bring me.
Okay, Inshira, you're live on air.
So I have the Finder.
Okay, Inshira.
And the front page banner headline says 10 startups to share
Inshira,
1 million CDs.
I'm not done with the graphic yet. I was just alerting you that you're on air. So let me do the center spread of the Daily Graphic real quick before you come through. 32,756 cases of multiple NIA registration detected. COVID-19 treatment centers in Ashanti run out of beds. Greater Accra Hospital receives 15 ventilators and medical supplies. On the back page, on COVID-19, it says COVID-19 dampens remittance inflows, $1 billion remitted in first quarter. And then COVID-19 presents opportunity to review Labor Act, according to a legal expert. So that's it for the Daily Graphic newspaper. Inshira, jump in now.
Inshira, you have to unmute your sound.
10 startups to share 1 million cedis. And this is in the Presidential Business Pitch Season 3, according to the Minister for Business Development. And also Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority secure consultants for Port of Keta feasibility study. And then EcoBank Ghana receives Green Climate Fund accreditation. Those are the headlines on the front page of the Business Finder.
You've got a dispatch?
The Dispatch has on its front page, well, very heavy on the upcoming, MPP primary. It says Dakwa Newman likely to win Okaikoi South. She's hoping to unseat the MP for the area, Mr. Arthur. And heads of schools urged to ensure facilities are open for disinfection and also ensure tour patients adhere to safety protocols. This is according to Mr. Boniface Sadiq. Over to you.
We can do the front page of the Ghanaian Times now. The Ghanaian Times has this story involving the president says government launches 1 million cedi presidential pitch on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. He also has this story about President Akufo-Addo to launch the collaborative education project and government to supply SHSs with special cellular phones. And NIA detects 32,752 double registrations in ongoing card registration, also on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. The back page of the Ghanaian Times has this story from the Ashanti region saying the region is facing shortage of beds, PPE at treatment centers, and 6 million cedis shopping center for WA in the pipeline, also on the back page. We can do the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper now. The front page of the Daily Guide newspaper reports that majority berates and minority over EC lies, and Nana to launch 2 million, that's 2,187 million projects there on the front page of the Daily Guide, and change Mahama, Seku rights of NDC. NDC sealed over 31st December celebration, also on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper. So those are your headlines, Mama V and Roland.
Well,
sure.
Please do the Daily Graphic, Mama V.
You go ahead.
Okay. Subsequently, let me do the searchlights. I only have a number of the newspaper usually we will not take a look at. So we have the searchlight. The searchlight has on the front page, EC paid $28 million in 7 years for data servicing, but gained nothing in return. Mensa Bonsu. We do have discerning Ghanaians can differentiate between MPP, NDC. Now NDC is also signing the document to disband political vigilante groups. MPP didn't sign yesterday, but Peter McMahon, the campaign manager for the party, is indicating that they're ready to sign, or if not, they had initially been ready, and now that the NDC has signed, it also means that perhaps they may take the opportunity to do so. The front page of the Vanguard says MPP gears up for 2020 Crown shocks, fatal casualties expected on Saturday. Now, 7 NHIA executives reportedly tested positive for coronavirus. It should include the chief executive, certainly. Mahama announces running mate in September. Dr. Kwesi Boatweh, and then Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. And attached, Alex Mould, have their pictures there. Highways clears Obiamwa over Kitase Brekusu Domi Road. Okay, so the Statesman also has on the front page, Keta Port project on course. We do know this has been a controversy. There's supposed to be somebody who is in charge of it, a project that has not yet started. It's been one of the issues that the opposition uses to accuse government of. 3 babies test positive for COVID-19, but mothers test negative. We do know that an infant has so far lost the life to coronavirus. And the Akufo-Addo launches collaborative education project today. All right, I'm done.
All right, Inshira. Joseph, what's the story of interest that you want to highlight on?
I usually don't delve into politics, but the dispatch story is quite an interesting one. This has to do with Dakwah Newman being the likely winner in the Okaigwe South primaries. Now, ever since we returned to multi-party democracy in 1992, the Okaigwe South seat has always been an MPP seat. First, we had Nana Akomia, who I think ran about 3 terms or so, and then Ahmed Arthur came in the, he's had 2 terms at the moment, and it looks like he's in for some kind of a hot contest because Dakwah Newman is, I think she's the daughter of Victor Newman, and she's put her name in the hat, and there's a bit of a groundswell. Quite a lot of people, and I think in Ahmed Arthur's case, the constituency, kingmakers may be wanting a new face for whatever reason we're not yet sure of. However, it is definitely going to be a very keenly contested contest for that seat. It's as if the belief is if you win the primary, you're more than likely going to, go to parliament. So the real contest for the Okaigwe seat is at the primaries level, more in the NPP's camp.
Yeah, I was just going to, bring in the bit about the Daily Graphic and how they've highlighted also on some hot spots. So let me just quickly run. In the Ashanti region, there are 6 hot spots identified. One is Katie Hammond's constituency, Adanse Asokwa. There's Asante Akim North, Asante Akim South, Asante Akim Central, Bantama, and then Menchia North. Sikuma and Odobin Braka, these 2 places, no, it's actually 1 in the central region. And then Brekum East, Sunyai East in Bono, 4 places in Eastern, which is Akimoda, Akwetia, New Jabeng South, and in Koko. In the Western region, Efia, Ahanta West, Kwesimintim, and Shama, Western North, Bibiani, Ariaso, Bekwai, Navrongo Central in the Upper East region, certainly a place of interest. Upper West is Laura, and then Greater Accra, Adenta, Domikwa-Benya, Okaigwe South, Tema West, and then the Northern region is Yendi and Nanton. So these are the 26 hotspots identified in the NPP parliamentary primaries. Just a couple of days.
I tell you, and without there's a third person who's in the race, in the person of Nana Frederick Ajimano Foriata. He's currently, I think, the board chair for the Ghana National Theatre. Now, but the funny thing is that a lot of the groundswell hardly mentions him, but he's one to watch. He's lived in the area just like. In fact, all 3 of them have all lived in the area for quite a while. It's going to come down to who knows the people the most and who the people truly like. And come Saturday afternoon, we'll know the real deal in Okaigwe South.
Well, I don't know whether it's about who the people really like, because this is an internal contest. It's almost like who is better appealing to the delegates and is able to hold them the way that the politicians, the 2 parties, the NPP and NDC, have been able to do it during their primaries involving delegates this 4th Republic. And we know what they do. Yeah, definitely.
Joseph, you want to have an essay on this?
Well, I get Inshira's bit. The reason being that for some of those areas, especially the ones that you touched on, you realize that actually the election is what is taking place this weekend. Because once you win the election, you are on your way to parliament. And so there is a bit of the fact that those who are going to participate in this election in terms of voting are the ones who decide who goes to parliament for them. And so they tend to look at people who broadly appeal to the whole constituency, because once you win, you're off to parliament. But obviously, it's not for the general population, like Roland did point out, but it obviously is an election that they would want to elect someone who is quite popular and ensure that they have mass turnout, especially if it's a stronghold. And most of the areas that we discussed this morning are strongholds. And those are the areas that we should keep our eyes on Saturday, because once you win, like an area like Bantama, when you win, I mean, you are heading to parliament.
But from that day onwards, they can start calling you honorable.
Yeah, definitely. And it's how the contests have always gone for both the MPP and NDC. And it's rightly so, because the ruling parties and the parties where they've had the dominant votes coming from within those geographical areas know that they can take anything for granted in the wider context. Then the question becomes, how do they navigate through the delegates? And for many of the times, I know that we don't want to call a spade a spade. This is the time that the delegates think, look, usually when you get to win, for the 4 years that you are in parliament, your business is not our business, because you're not going to bring your business to us. So they then try to milk the situation as much as possible. We've seen TVs being shared. We've seen now good appliances. You used to, back in the day, you get textiles, you get a bit of baskets and rice, etc. But look, they've inched up the...
Is it them or is just the candidate? Because I learned something, and I'm still learning a few things in the internal politics, the intra-politics. You don't start sharing in the early stages. You've got to wait. This is a very good time to begin to share, because you up the price. So if I was given 1,000 Ghana cedis,
you might have a lot.
Exactly. Because if I'm given 1,000, somebody's going to up it and go to either 1,005 or 2,000. It's like some bidding process.
Of course. Well, it is a bidding process, and we'll wait to see. Especially, I mean, the other thing that's worthy of note is that Darkwah is 24 years and she's contesting against two men who are just at 50 for Ahmed Arthur and 53 for Nana Frederick Freyatta. So, I mean, to think that we celebrated 25 years of multi-party democracy since the 1992 Constitution was launched, you would think that she's a political neophyte. But a lot of people have come in looking like they are green and fresh and have shown the experienced ones how the game is truly played. Well, but she does have a very solid office. You know, the team behind her is solid. So I guess that's probably why there's this projection that she's likely to win.
Right. One place I look forward to, and I know all of us want to take a look at it, it's, apart from Bantama, is the New Gabin South contest, because we had somebody who almost was like a shadow economic minister when the MPP was in opposition, Dr. Makasibe Yeboah. He's having a sharp or a keen contest. The dynamics don't seem to support the incumbent, because if you take a look at what has transpired over the last 12 months, each time there's an event organized by the opponent of Dr. Makasibe Yeboah,
the CEO of the Free Zones.
Yes, you get to find that the executives nationally and regionally tend to gravitate towards that event of his opponent. And it's interesting. There's one particular event that happened. I think he was having a health walk that happened around September or so. And we had the Black Star coach at the time, Akwesi Appiah, attending a number of the national... Yes, and then even a number of the national delegates, the national executives also attending. I mean, it was just a normal gentleman's event for the community, but at the end of the day, it speaks volumes as to where they're gravitating towards.
Well, sometimes the delegates necessarily looking at these things. Yes, Insurance, go ahead.
Remember the phrase "fear delegates."
Exactly.
Until Saturday afternoon, I don't think anything is clear as daylight.
Fear delegates, yeah.
So, Michael...
And maybe just a quick point. You know, another angle of the Saturday election is that it will be the first election in the COVID era. And so that gives us a sense of how the voting process would be, and we'll be looking out for how they'll be managing all of that. We know that the AEC will be assisting them like they do for the various parties who run their elections. So we'll be monitoring how the spacing is done. This is a limited number, not even, you can't compare the numbers to those who will participate in the general elections, but it will be obviously an indicator of the process come December 7th if COVID is still rife as it is now.
Absolutely. This is your election headquarters. Trust us to bring you extensive coverage of this one with all the detailed analysis right here on Joy News. Joseph, there's a story in one of the papers that you have that I'm interested in, but you also wrote about it on myjoyonline.com. And I did
yes,
comment
it's on the
on
front
that
page
post.
of the Daily Guide.
We have another 31st December case.
Yes, and so Professor Stephen Asare is making reference to the 1993 case of the NPP versus the Attorney General. That case stopped the use of state funds to celebrate any coup day, so December 31, June 4, and also those days should not be marked as public holidays. Now, he said the Supreme Court saying that the NDC is organizing those events publicly, and the NDC as a party whose constitution is under the 1992 constitution should be barred from holding that event, and also the state should be stopped from holding or renting out public facilities to the NDC to hold those events. And so that is the case that he has taken to the Supreme Court, and we understand the NDC and the AG's office may be on the same side. That is an exclusive I'm working on that in due course we'll put out.
So
in terms of the defense they are making.
This is fascinating. I was just checking the comments down the story that you filed on myjoyonline.com. People didn't get, oh, NDC is working with the AG. They're on the same side on this one.
That is the news we'll be breaking quite shortly. The documents we are seeing, they are making a point that Professor Asare's case is a misunderstanding of the MPP versus Attorney General case, in that case had to do, don't see the ratio in that case was I don't use state funds for the celebration and don't mark it as a holiday. And so the AG and NDC's point to understand is that if the NDC is not using state funds, why is there an issue?
Yeah, I find it also very fascinating, but it's at the Supreme Court, so who are we? We'll wait to see. So we expect another story from you today?
I'll release that tomorrow.
Pressure. Okay, Inshira, is there a story? Or Joseph, I'm a bit confused. Who is coming through with a story now? Anything you want to highlight?
I wanted to highlight the...
Okay, I think there's a problem with my audio. I can't hear.
Okay, I want us to look at a story that's occupying the front page of the Daily Statesman. It's about 3 babies test positive for COVID-19. We also do know that an infant or even not a child has died out of the disease. And we know that there was a referral from Bolga to the Tamale Teaching Hospital, and subsequently that death occurred. But if you take a look at the statistics clearly, for which now we have over 8,000, 12,000 up-to-date cases, it gives you a certain indication about the demographics that have been lost, especially we take the deaths in the Ashanti region and the age groups for which I think even though the numbers of the fatalities are not alarming, we should be concerned about. Over the last week, the numbers have not been good. They've been trickling so far as the 100s, the 200s, and the 300s. And indeed, the COVID team and the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, who is on the show today, have given us the indication that they are a bit worried, even though it's not a national figure or a national pattern. They think that it's something they are looking out for. For centers to be overwhelmed in the Ashanti region, then ultimately we need to double up. What do? Do we try to bring up more isolation centers or places of treatment within a month or two, as we've been able to do right here in Accra, convert areas as quickly as possible, especially purpose for treatment? And we have to take a look at this. We're talking about this the third day in a row. We're talking about this on the show. And I believe that we need to take a critical look at how the cases are, the way they are coming in, and we have to be worried.
Yeah, I listened to the Regional Health Director, Ashanti Region, yesterday, and it's an emergency, actually. It's one of those situations that we need to give a response to ASAP. It's a dire situation in the Ashanti region. We've got to look at it, and we have to fix it. And people must take the precautions. I'm not sure what the other assemblies are doing, but we have to take a cue from what whole municipality is doing. We have to be innovative and find ways to deal with people who are not sticking by those directives in terms of the wearing of mask in public. If you're going to go out, you must be in a mask. And the assemblies can't just, you can't just say, oh, Ashanti region, for instance, you can't just say that. But the police, they had a way of dealing with people, and then you all were shouting and saying human rights, so now we can't do anything about it again. And so people can go about and do what they want to do. We can't do that. I mean, this is not a lawless country. We've got rules. There are things that we live by. And so we have to do things within that. If the whole municipality has been able to do something that's acceptable and that's legal, then the others must follow. And Ashanti region must follow. We can't have the health directorates come and tell us the things that they see each time. And it's like it's a helpless situation. They can't even do anything about it. People are just doing whatever they want to do, and we are just watching. And it cannot continue. Otherwise, we'll continue to record more cases. Here's how it looks like at the Ghana Health Service page. Confirmed cases, 12,590. Active cases, 8,114. Recoveries, 4,410. And the deaths stand at 66. So active cases, over 8,000 active cases and over 60 deaths. Yeah. We have to check it.
While the 12,000 is worrying, the 8,000 is even more serious, because at the time we were told that we should look at the active cases. Now, the health authorities, when you're speaking to it, and Joseph will have a lot to say about this, don't even refer to the active cases now, because they know you can't be boasting about the active case exceeding 8,000.
In the meantime,
and Roland, if you recall, initially too, they used to make the point that most of the deaths you are recording has to do with people with underlying health conditions. In the last few days, the deaths we are seeing actually involve people who do not have underlying health condition. And that's a question that I would appreciate if you put it to the DG of the Health Service, because he says when someone dies and they suspect it's of corona, they ask some questions to try and understand what happened. And so we should be understanding what we are learning in terms of those who have no underlying health conditions that are also passing on now. And that should be of worry to all of us, because, I mean, it tells you that no matter how strong you are, COVID can knock you down.
I was just going to add to that and say that there's some Ghanaians from the United Kingdom who also arrived in the country last night, 224 returnees, part of a worldwide evacuation program started by the government of Ghana in response to claims that they're stranded. But we know that they're going to be mandatory, they're in quarantine. And if there's anything to learn from the Ghanaians that came from Kuwait, this is also something to watch, because we could be possibly having some cases from this. But rest assured, they're in mandatory quarantine. Government is keeping an eye on them. There's another batch that will come from the US also sometime this month. Yeah,
true.
Okay, guys, let's do myjoyonline.com if we can before we wrap up the show. All right, myjoyonline.com. Let's check out. Here we go, Roland.
Yeah, so we have 2 dead after VIP bus crashed into the other on the road, the Isiakwa Chebi Road. It's a road that many of us who visit Kumasi regularly are very much aware of. It's one of the dangerous stretches. I don't know.
This overtaking.
Yeah.
Speeding, overtaking.
Right. Electoral Commission paid $28 million for over 7 years for data servicing, but no work was done. Chairman Sabonsu. Injustice leads to curses. Otumfuo's chief priest warns political leaders. And voter registration. Minorities claims of 6,300 reduction in the number of polling stations false. And this was reiterated by Dr. Bosman Asari as well when Mama V interacted with her over the period. Just yesterday morning, actually, just 24 hours ago. We have to be more specific. The GRA, the Customs Division, they're beginning investigation into missing 100 grams of suspected cocaine. Indeed, they do have a statement to that effect. I don't know. Many people are not surprised. that this is big news in Ghana. 3-month-old baby dies of COVID-19 in Northern region. Stop NDC from commemorating Rawlings' overthrow of Liman. Lawyers ask Supreme Court, and we know Joseph has been working.
It's been
on
agenda indefinitely.
NDC stingy for scoring MPP 14% on manifesto achievement. Oh, really? Proxy voting not captured in new CI Electoral Commission. Caution says, Charlie, don't get too happy. So we'll see. But you know, they still have the powers to make sure that everybody.
But if you missed that extensive conversation, is on myjoyonline.com with Bossman Asari.
And then join News TV too on our YouTube channel.
Yeah. All right, so that's how it looks like on myjoyonline.com today. I want to say a very good morning to Reverend Father Daniel Lenwa, headmaster of KJB Asato Senior High School in the Oti region, and speedy recovery to you as well. Reverend Father Daniel Lenwa, headmaster of KJB Asato Senior High School in the Oti region. He was involved in an accident recently. Please recover speedily. Brother?
Well, we have to take a break for sports, and of course, we're virtually bringing you the latest update. It was the English Premiership.
Arsenal.
And Arsenal were back in their fold. Old ways don't change, because their supporters know that they have to keep their BP levels guarded within COVID-19. So, rightly, those pictures were well presented.
Where are the Arsenal fans? I think they are one of the groupings. People thought, okay, let's scrap the whole league, the season.
Yeah.
I think Arsenal probably leading that campaign, but it didn't work. Project Restart. And they absolutely also restarted their poor form.
Can imagine.
Benedict will join us in a bit. Stay with us.
We told you about our main conversation today, and it's about the management of coronavirus. Yesterday, Dr. Tinkrai, he manages all related activities of health, public health in the Ashanti region. He's the director for public health, or the director for health for the Ghana Health Service and for the Ashanti region, and ultimately gave us an indication of how overwhelmed the region is when it came to the management of COVID-19 cases. Coronavirus has really dented and overwhelmed health systems around the world. And so if the numbers incrementally are going up, then the public health officials should be concerned about it. And so we decided to make this a main issue when we're discussing regular topics today. And that's what we're about to discuss. We'll take you to the health service site that is dedicated to coronavirus and the update of the cases. You will in real time get to see what officially the cases are. We do have confirmed cases are up to date, and this is up to date cases of 12,590. Now we have the active cases being the subtraction of the fatalities and then the recoveries out of the number of 12,590, being 8,114 active cases. And out of them, we have those that may be critically ill, etc. The main concern, you see the number 397, that is the difference over the last update. So from the last update up to this one that we have 397 additional cases, just 3 shy of 400. That has been the concern for the Ghana Medical Association, the Nurses and Midwifery Council, and then other public health officials. For the Ashanti region to be overwhelmed, we do know that then we're reaching the breaking point. How do we navigate this? Please send us many of your related comments. If you live in the Ashanti region especially, and Kumasi more closely, please tell us what you think about these announcements not being speculated, but official from the Ghana Health Service officials. And then subsequently, we're going to have all the big people, all the players right here. We're going straight to KCCR, and we'll speak to virologists. And now KCCR is one of the many centers that are testing the cases and giving us the indication whether they're positive or negative. Dr. Michael Owusu is a regular on the show, and he'll take us through a number of things that we need to know. He brings the analysis close to us. Dr. Michael Owusu is joining us on stream. Good morning to you, Dr. Owusu.
Good morning.
And I'm sure my director will grant me this. We're going to have the side by side with you. Then you take us through the numbers. You do the analysis for us, what we should be worried about. We have in total up-to-date cases in excess of 12,000, active cases 8,100 in excess. But we have 397 being the top-up or the additional from the last time we had an update on the official website. If you look at all these incrementals and the numbers, what does it tell you?
Yeah, good morning to all your listeners and to all your viewers as well. So these numbers is quite worrying and quite disturbing. As I always say, you should not be worried about the cumulative numbers, because the numbers will always increase because the virus will have to run its natural course in every population until about 50 to 60% of people are infected. And you have about 30 to 40% of people who will recover. This is how it behaves when it enters the country. But then the number of new cases you get is what will tell you how well you are doing in terms of management of the virus. And this is what we are beginning to see. We started somewhere from the 12th of March with about 2 new cases. And then we were able to come in with some very good interventions in terms of blocking the borders to prevent importation of cases. We went ahead to ban some social gathering, closing of schools, banning public gatherings, including universities and schools, which was significant. As a matter of fact, if we had not done this phase we are will have occurred about a month ago. And because of what we did, we were able to push forward the peak point on the epidemic curve, several months ahead. So we have delayed this period, which is one of the strategies you use to manage the virus. You cannot prevent infection, but you can manage new cases as they come in. And you have to do it in such a way that you are not overwhelmed by the new cases. So if you look at our data and then a trend of how things are going with regards to Ghana. As a matter of fact, this is not peculiar to Ghana, but it's running through different, in Sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria, and then South Africa, which have almost similar testing capacity like ours, also experiencing same. So in the month of May, in Ghana, for instance, we started with doing about a daily new case of about 100 new cases, for Ghana, which was quite good. And because of that, we were having very low death rates and high positivity in terms of number of testing we are doing. But then, the new cases were quite good and were quite manageable. And then somewhere in April, we had a lower than that. We had about 50 new cases in April, which was also quite good and manageable. But then in June alone, if you have looked at the Ghana data, we are doing about 280 to 300 new cases on the average. And as you rightly said, as of yesterday, we have about 397. So what we ask ourselves, what is changing? And as I said, it's not peculiar to Ghana. On the 11th of June, the WHO said that it took 98 days for Africa to record its first 100,000 cases. But it has taken 18 days for Africa to record the next 100,000 cases. So in Sub-Saharan Africa, the trend and the pattern of this virus is beginning to change. And the reason is unexplained, but I think that season seems to have a role to play. We started in the hot weather, where the reproductive number of the virus is low, and where the weather is very hot. The virus can remain on surface for up to about 3 days for temperatures more than 25 degrees Celsius. But then, as the temperatures begin to fall, the virus can now stay on surfaces for up to more than 14 days, which means that transmission within the cold season is quite higher than transmission in the high season. So I'm not surprised that the cases are increased. So what this also means is that we are beginning to enter into the exponential phase. So if you have looked at what I told you earlier, I mean, Nigeria had about 100 new cases in the month of April. In May, they had about 200 to 250 new cases. In June, they are recording about 400 to 450 new cases. South Africa had about 150 new cases in the month of April. In the month of May, they have about 300 to 400 new cases. And then as we speak now, they are recording close to about 2,800 new cases. I mean, that's their current case that they are recording. So the numbers are doubling almost every week, which will mean that if we don't manage things well, it is likely that every week we may see doubling of this number. So if the numbers, if it's only about infection, it wouldn't be a problem. Initially, it started as an infection. If you are infected and you don't experience the symptoms, then you are good to go because people are being infected, but they are not being hospitalized. But then if the infection is correlating with proportional increase in, I mean, the number of people who are moving to the health facilities, in other way, it is putting a demand and pressure on the health sector, then it means that the situation is almost changing. So we cannot say that it's largely asymptomatic anymore. But what we are saying that the asymptomatic have perhaps built their base and they are now taking out the vulnerable population one after the other. So it is not surprising to see that in Ashanti region, and I believe other regions will follow suit, you are beginning to see pressure on the health system. Health workers are becoming infected, and many doctors, nurses are becoming exposed, and people are falling out. As a matter of fact, in KCCR, we started by seeing about 1 to 2% of cases out of every 100 tests that we do. But as we speak now, it's getting to about 30 to 40% of positives out of every 100 tests that you run. And most of these are coming from hospitals. It used not to be that. But this tells you that people are, it's not like you have to go to the people anymore, but people are now coming to the hospital by themselves. And as I said, season could be a contributing factor. And if we don't change the strategy and begin to relook at how best to deal with this, the coming weeks may double these numbers. And the numbers, as they double, it is possible that the deaths may also increase.
Now, Dr. Ernest York, you are president for the Greater Accra chapter of the Ghana Medical Association. Based on the information that is being churned out, especially a concern that has been raised by your colleagues, your colleague who is now in public service indeed, heads the health service for Ashanti, the exposure of health personnel has a certain risk. I want to ask this question. Is it because you don't have enough of your numbers of your kind in the health sector, or it is because when you are exposed, you're more vulnerable, and so you can't be active at the clinical stage of your work?
Thank you, Roland, for having me on your show. Just a slight correction, I'm the chairman of the Greater Accra division of the GMA, so not the president. We only have one president. Yeah, so back to your question. Yes, by working in an environment where there's a high concentration of affected people or infected people, your chances of contracting the virus is higher. So I think that is a bit simple. And because you are also getting exposed to persons who may have been infected, your chances of, and then are ill, your chances of getting a higher load of virus, or inoculum as we call it, is also high. So the higher the volume or the load of the virus, the more likely you are to, show symptoms. So, you may have been exposed, you may not show symptoms, but if your volume of inoculum or viral load is high, then you are more likely to show symptoms. Remember also that, the chances of getting exposed is also high. It's partly the reason why healthcare are getting exposed. And secondly, because of their risk, we need protection, in terms of personal protection, equipment, which has been reported, and I can confirm that is so in the Greater Accra region, that it is woefully inadequate. And we've had to supplement these personal equipment with our own funds. because what is coming from our hospitals, our managers, and the ministry and the government is not enough. I'm aware that the private sector has been involved in individuals, corporate organizations, but all over Twist, we ask for more because the disease is now on the turn, like the previous speaker was saying. We are yet to see the worst. I think we risk being exposed big time if we don't do things right.
Dr. Owusu, if you have to put yourself in the shoes of the health personnel, we're talking additionally nurses. Initially, we were using this word frontline to target those that were directly dealing with positive cases. Now, if you have to use your experience and based on how the positives are being recorded, for which you're saying out of 100 tests now, it's between 30 and 40% being positive, how will you redefine this frontline group conceptually?
Yes, so Roland, the word frontline was quite clear initially from the beginning. And if you have low positivity rates and you know cases that are coming based on your testing capacity, you can easily define that these people are positive and they have them. You triage them, you know that this is how they are behaving. You test and then you treat, you manage them. But as we speak now, I don't think the word frontline is applicable in the health sector. Every person who is there is a frontline worker, and everybody who is around can be exposed and can be infected because, I mean, if the proportion you are seeing on the national average, which is about 6% in routine surveillance, you have 2 times that number occurring. The cases you are seeing now, as in about 12,000 and over cases, there are twice this number in the population, and these are mostly and largely asymptomatics. So these people may come with malaria, and they may come with ordinary fever, and they may come with cholera. Before you realize, they already have the virus. So you may want to consider them as perhaps you are not a frontline worker, so you take them through another route. But then you end up having trouble. And this is what Kofanoti had in their ICU unit, where they were managing less harmful traumatic case. But then before they realized, the person turned out to be positive. A number of them were exposed, and they had to withdraw, and almost half of their staff and now are operating partially. So frontline workers, as where we are now, where we are beginning to climb the epidemic curve, it doesn't look applicable now. Every health worker now is exposed one way or the other, and everybody must get the necessary protection to be able to help themselves. You can't differentiate between what is isolation unit, treatment unit, and then a normal consulting room. So the definition as we speak now, I don't think it holds. It holds well.
Roland, can I add this?
Please add whatever, Dr. York. The floor is yours.
Surely. So I think he just nailed it. And I can confirm for our listeners and our viewers that that is what we are saying. As the cases, inch up, everybody is a line worker. Now, who are you going to take out? Is it the doctor in the consulting room who is getting exposed? Is it the nurse? Is it the cleaner? We forget that, there are support staff that also get exposed in the room. Is it the laboratory worker who is also taking samples? Is it the radiologist who is, imaging somebody who is in the theater? And I can tell you that, I think that they initially probably wanted to refer to those who were specifically at the treatment center. I think they didn't take their time to define. And as you said, time has shown us that that's probably not the case. And I can also let people know that the initial analysis that we've done on persons who have been affected are not those who are found in the treatment center, but they take the maximum level of precautions. The ordinary health worker on the ward in the consulting room, may be exposed, and indeed they are now. They form the majority of those who are exposed compared to those at the treatment center. So I think we should move away from who is frontline at this stage and then look at everybody as being potentially exposed and then deal with it and protect ourselves accordingly.
What is the level of protection in relation to the provision of the PPEs that have been given to your personnel? And it's not only doctors, I'm talking the nurses and the others generally. What reports have reached you, Dr. York?
It's replete with inadequate PPEs. And I think, we don't want to go into what is a PPE. We know what they are now. From the nose mask you are wearing, to the N95, to the goggles, to everything else, to the overalls, to the boots, everything else. So you were using it according to your level of risks. So we don't have adequate numbers, and it scares people. A lot more health workers are getting exposed, and I think we need to change paradigm and let the rhetoric reduce and engage for us to judge and see how best we can go around the situation, because the need is even going higher, yet we are unable to meet. What it means is that especially healthcare workers are going to be exposed more. They will be self-isolating. Unfortunately, some may be sick, lose their lives. The health sector, in terms of the provision, suffers. And then we may see what we are seeing elsewhere. Remember also that we don't have enough critical care doctors. We don't have enough critical care facilities. So where are we going to take care of them? Already we've converted some of our routine theaters and units to take care of COVID. And therefore, routine surgeries that are urgent, that needs to be done, are being delayed or not done at all. Cancer patients are dying immediately because there is no room to operate. So I think as a nation, time has come for us to sit down and stop this media frenzy thing and trying to say, those spread calm, no fear, but on the ground, the situation is different. And I'm afraid as a health worker, for my colleagues and for myself and for my family, I'm having to have some sleepless nights these days.
You are scared for them and for yourself?
Absolutely. Why shouldn't I? I am. Because one, you see, we don't have enough places of isolation in the first place. So you suspect a case, you need to isolate and make sure that you do the test and wear the appropriate things to protect yourself while we are waiting for the results. One, the place to isolate you don't have, so it makes it with the general patient. Two, the personal protective equipment you need to wear to protect yourself you don't have. You take a lab sample and it takes over a week, 2 weeks. I have had colleagues who got exposed and up to 18 days. We didn't have results, and I asked them to come back to work because we're short of staff. So this is the reality on the ground. And so it makes me uncomfortable, and so are my colleagues. And these things must be addressed urgently. Then it doesn't look to me, honestly, that dialogue is being had yet. And I think we are more focusing on painting a picture of everything being rosy, but it is not. Ghana stands the chance of losing everything, all the gains we made so far, if direction is not changed with respect to COVID management in this country.
Dr. Usu, if Dr. Yours cautions that we need to change the direction, and this also has been supported by a number of experts we've spoken to just over the last 24 hours ago exactly. We're talking about the weather. You also have mentioned it, and the season, and how that we had Dr. Esiembedu from the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Kofi Amega, as well as Professor Marewa, all from that university, postulating that the weather has now hit us hard, and perhaps we should have planned further for it. The question then is, if you look at what transpired in China, the rest of Europe and America, how close are we, based on the numbers we're getting incrementally daily over the last week or two, to get overwhelmed, based on experts' observation?
Yes, Roland, I think that it's important that we really look at the strategy. And like my colleague Dr. York mentioned, if you look at the 66 deaths, 9 of these deaths are in people who don't have any underlying condition. This is what makes it scary. The news that is always in comorbid, people with comorbid conditions, the story is not exactly the same. So as young people who are even managing, handling, testing these viruses, you cannot predict how it will behave when you are infected. So it is more difficult, and there's what we call a force of epidemic. As if you have 10 people surrounding you who are all infected, you can put on all the masks you want to put on. The force of epidemic will catch up on you, and this is what is happening. As more people are becoming infected, your risk of exposure increases. So how do we deal with this? I mean, there are strategies to deal with this. You know, they have the mitigation strategy and then the suppression strategy. When we started as a country, we applied the suppression strategy where you order restrictions, you close borders, you close social gathering, you make people sit home so that you can reduce movement, which is one of the major risk factors for infections. And then give some breathing space for the health sector. I mean, let people plan well, let people inject resources, expand your treatment centers, expand isolation centers, buy PPE, buy laboratory logistics, do all you can do. And then after that, you open up or ease restrictions, whilst you you monitor the cases as they go by. With the way the cases are surging and with all the contributory factor and with the possible prediction that these cases are likely to double in the coming weeks and the deaths are likely to increase, the mitigation measures are in place, wearing of nose masks, which is mandatory and all that. This is fairly good. But then if everybody wears nose masks, you can cut the virus growth by just about 50%. That one will not be enough to reduce pressure at the health facility. If you want to succeed in crashing the epidemic curve, then you will have to go by what China and others did earlier. You will have to impose or order another form of restriction, which will restrict movement, so that as people move, they just stay home. And once they stay home, it gives you some breathing space to manage the few people that come to your health facility, so that at least the health workers will also have a breathing space, because as more of them are becoming infected and are getting out of the facility, it will come to a point where they will empty the place. But then as people are being infected and moving, 2 or 3 times of their numbers are still moving and also infecting. I mean, I know people who are positive, who are supposed to undergo self-isolation, but they decide that they have to go to work because they have to work for their employers. But then if a restriction is ordered and everybody knows that we have to stay home, they will be forced to stay home. And when they stay home, you can have some time, some breathing space to re-inject resources in your health sector, to expand your treatment centers again, to buy all the logistics, to plan properly, and then you can deal with the cases again. So it's not out of place to restrict movement.
Dr. Usu, what are you saying? You are saying we should reimpose lockdown?
How will you reduce pressure at the healthcare facilities? What is the option? One is to expand the isolation units, expand the treatment units. But you have time to do this. We can do that. But the virus is running ahead of us. So if you have a virus running ahead of you and is moving at a very faster rate, you need a breathing space and a time to do that. And this is why I earlier said that a form of a localized lockdown is appropriate now. We know where the cases are coming from. If we know that...
Dr. Usu, are you on stream? Dr. York, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you.
Do you support this localized lockdown, he says?
Well, I think I don't have a yes or no answer, but certainly be one of the considerations to have. I don't think that on the national level, the government will be prepared to do that, considering the socio-political implications of that, and also economic implications. So yes, localized lockdown may be one of the options, to consider. However, I think even as we consider those other options, what about the prescriptions that we've accepted that we should be doing? We say wearing of nose masks, social distancing. Just drive around, the cities and towns. Nobody's observing it. Just a few people, go to the market. It's a few days, as if there's no COVID. Go to residential areas. And so the vim and the enthusiasm which we are preaching, we seem to be relaxing as the virus, the proportion increase. And this is a time rather to intensify. I remember seeing policemen, security people along the streets enforcing. Have you seen them again? They are all gone. So yesterday, the Greater Accra issued a statement, and what we were calling for is intensification of and enforcement of these preventive measures, whilst we even think about other interventions, as you suggested, as localized lockdown. Let's engage the traditional rulers, the chiefs, the queen mothers, the wolomers, the church leaders, the imams, because they have some social gravitas and leverage that can help, reach out to the ordinary person, so that this enforcement can happen for us to curtail the disease. Otherwise, we are going nowhere. We have very prominent people coming out to say they've infected, and this is what we encourage, to reduce stigma, so that people can voluntarily, offer themselves. And stigmatizing for them, for instance, it's one of the important things that is affecting community tracing. I'm told, people, you give them a call and they say, "Oh, I'm not Mr. Way or Mr. Y." They put their phones off. So you can't identify the index case, you can't do contact trace, enhanced contact trace. There are multifaceted approaches that we must adopt. Certainly, localized lockdown may be an option, but certainly there will be considerations of socio-political and economic costs. But overall, something must change. Otherwise, we are heading in the wrong direction.
Dr. Owusu, this drug, dexamethasone, yeah, dexamethasone, right?
Yes.
That's the name.
Yes, yes.
It seemed to have overtaken the media airwaves. Joy News also inclusive over the last 24 hours. What really is that the miracle drug? It's always been in the stores, apparently.
Yes, I'm sure Dr. York, being a clinician, will come tell us more about this. But then, I mean, as the days go by, many people do research. They come up with their findings. They share this with the media space. But then, one of the things we have to note is that the various drugs that we keep hearing about, they differ. The way they behave, the way populations and hosts behave to the drug differ from continent to continent. Even within the continent, particular people, based on their own immunological systems and the way they respond to infections, may behave differently. So something may work in the UK, but then if you bring it to Ghana in Africa, it may give you a different picture. And this is why the African CDC has always said that in this COVID era, the drugs that you use will have to be used under a certain condition as a form of a monitoring trial for every drug. And then you generate clinical information to inform decisions as quickly as possible. It's not a wholesale. And in Ghana, we have national treatment guidelines for COVID. We also have other protocols that we are following. So I think as this comes to the media space, the Ghana Health Service, the Ministry of Health, will need to reconsider. But then it's not for the public to go and buy it and begin to use it in their homes, but to leave it for the health practitioners to weigh the options to see whether it is possible that this could work within our population. And if it works well, I think that is good. We've heard that you can cut down deaths by 1/3 among those who have severe disease and people who need ventilation support, which is good news. But as to whether populations in Africa will be able to respond to these drugs if they have severe disease is another thing that I think the clinicians on the ground will have to give us more information on this.
Dr. York, dexamethasone.
Yeah,
Dexamethasone. I'm told that it's the new Jesus drug.
No, I mean, it is good news to have a confirmation. I call it a confirmation because I have been involved in managing COVID patients, and I can tell you for a fact that I can, at least for Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, we've been using, it comes under a broad category of medications called steroids. And we'll be using steroids for moderate to severe cases, those needing RTUK. And what we found that it restricts or improves the the cytokine storm. That leads to some of these bad outcomes. So we know that it works somehow, but this has come to confirm that indeed it may be useful, and therefore we should continue what we're doing, and what you are doing is right. You need that confirmation in scientific circles. But remember, what Dr. also said, it is not for you to go and fetch. We did that to hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine. It became short in the market. People started popping it left, right, center. It has side effects. It may be toxic if you not use the right way. Steroids can cause all sorts of problems. It can even paradoxically, remember, reduce your immunity and even increase your risk of getting COVID infection in the first place. So it has to be used under supervised condition by a trained healthcare practitioner under the right, conditions. It can lead to diabetes, it can lead to hypertension. Again, as I said, it can suppress your immunity and a whole lot. So yes, it has come as good news and we are happy. What has to be done is also to probably set up our own protocol to see whether it works to the same extent as it is found somewhere, and so that we can continue to use it safely for the benefit of our cohort that we have in this country.
But we run the risk of people going over the counter to have a purchase and use.
Oh, certainly, and I don't hope and pray. I do hope and pray that no celebrity like we had, in the past with respect to hydroxychloroquine will come and endorse it and encourage people to buy it. Dexa is a cheap drug. It's persuasive to see this. There's no need, to rush for it. You'll get it anytime when it's appropriate, prescribed by a healthcare practitioner. And at this stage, I will implore all the pharmacy outlets and chemical shops not to be dishing out dexamethasone and other steroid medication without prescription, and because they will have to serve as a gatekeeper in protecting the public in this regard. Otherwise, it may lead to untoward consequences that we may have to add on to already bad situation that we find ourselves now.
Now, as we begin to round up our conversation, Dr. Michael Owusu, you now recording 30 to 40% positives out of each 100 tests that you undertake also means that because you want to be sure, the testing time delays. Is that my lay understanding?
I mean, for us, the KCCR, since our last backlog, we've put in a lot of mechanisms to ensure that we deliver results at least within 24 hours to 48 hours. So we are not experiencing that. But as I told you, over a couple of this week, we are beginning to have huge numbers, and we are still with strategies to be able to cope up with the numbers. But it is possible that as the numbers increase, if we don't take we may go back to the earlier cases. I mean, the point about PCR technology is that when we started, the prevalence was very low. So you could batch samples and run them. This is why Noguchi could run about 30,000 samples within about 2 or 3 days, because you can put 100 samples together as 10 and run them and get results. But if you have about 30 to 40% prevalence, you cannot batch samples again. You have to run them individually. And this is what makes things very difficult. So when you get to this stage, your testing capacity will naturally fall. You will not be saying that you now have 3,000 testing capacity. It will reduce about 1,500 and go to about 1,000. It's a natural thing that happens with this. So this is why we are cautioning. The public don't seem to get it. And Dr. York mentioned that we have to involve the public, the media, the chiefs, the opposition. All of them will have to come around the table and then help all over the government to plan and re-strategize. It looks like the conversation is more diffuse, where everybody takes it at every angle, and then everybody wants to carry his own thing. But the reality on the ground and what we are seeing, if we don't involve all stakeholders and sit around the table as one people in Ghana and re-strategize and re-look at the way forward, we may find ourselves in a difficulty, and we don't want to see what happened elsewhere. We knew Africa would be good, Africa will not experience any of these, but then if the pattern is changing, and if the data is driving us to this point, there is a need for us to reconsider these things and to look at it. And the media as well. I mean, the media used to give a lot of information in the early stages, educating on staying home when you don't have anything doing, putting on your mask. But as we go by gradually, it looks like everybody is carrying their own story. And the fear and the passion to adhere to precautions, this thing is gradually, the standards are going down. and we are not acting. The security, like Dr. York mentioned, they are not so passionate like before when we are in the lockdown. Now they may see you and you may pass and have your own way. But this is the point where we need them most, because we are climbing this curve. We need them more than ever. So I think we use your media space to continue to appeal to the public, everybody, civil society groups, to the opposition parties and governments and all intellectuals and all well-meaning Ghanaians, religious groups, that let us all sit around the table. Let us weigh the evidence that we have on the ground, and let us begin to relook at our strategies and then help the whole Ghana so we can reduce our deaths and then save lives of many vulnerables in the society.
Dr. York, how many of your kind are around Ghana? I mean, the medical doctors. And if you have numbers on nurses, we'll be happy.
Overall, we are about 5,000. But those in active clinical practice are just around 3,000.
3,000 means that we have one doctor to about 300,000 people?
3,000. No, it's about 10,000. Because the population, if you're using the population of 30 million.
Yeah, definitely, 10,000.
Yeah, that's about 10,000, yeah. So it tells you that it isn't great. It isn't great. And so if you are going to lose some of your staff or doctors to isolation and, deaths, then we are in for trouble. Remember that the other conditions are still around. Remember the situation we had in the Upper West where people were dying of meningitis. It's because of COVID. We took our eyes off the ball. We thought that everything else is gone. No, they are still around us. And indeed, those other ones are also increasing because they are receiving less attention as we divert attention to COVID.
And many of you practice in Accra too. That's where the disease is. Accra and Kumasi.
Yeah, like Roland is in Accra, sitting on Joy News. Most Ghanaians prefer to be in the cities, and even if you encourage them to go, they won't go. And because of the disproportionate distribution of largely social amenities, poor road infrastructure, poor housing, poor telephony, poor water, so that is part of the reason. And over the years, Ghana Medical Association has called for, change in policy to change this narrative, where over 80% of doctors are concentrated in Accra and Kumasi, metropolitan areas. We call for incentives. Elsewhere, that is what is done. Because if I sit in Accra, and I will get the same money as you sit in Trinidad. And when I live in Accra, I can have the opportunity to do extra work in terms of locums. So when I sit in Accra, I will have access to digital television and the best things that are around. And I prefer to stay in Accra. And so to bridge that maldistribution is to provide incentive for people to move out. And it happens. I can tell you, during the Boko conflict, the doctors that worked in the Boko hospital, that was run by one of the missions, doctors still were present because of the extra things they were receiving. Compare that to those who were in the other public hospitals, everybody left. So it is shown over the world that incentives help to address this maldistribution. It is practiced in Europe, it's practiced in America, it's practiced in Russia. It is no rocket science, but somebody has listened, but somebody hasn't acted yet.
Yeah. Dr. Michael Owusu, we in Italy and in the UK, we have close to over 100 doctors being infected, and then ultimately it rounded up to 10,000 either recovered or going through and then the fatalities went high. If we have the way the cases are being recorded continuing, what happens to the health system scientifically?
Like I said, Roland, the nature of this virus is that it knocks off your health workers, grounds your health system, whilst infecting and killing people. If you have a full functional health system and the capacity, you can manage these cases and even reduce or, if possible, avoid deaths. This is why the WHO 6 criteria for easing restrictions. The second point is that you must have sufficient public health system capacities in place to be able to identify, isolate, test, and treat all cases. They make this clear in their second bullet. So anytime you are in the easing process, you must ensure that your health system is well in place and have all the systems and everything to manage. If the very few people who can manage us are becoming infected and you have to go under quarantine for 14 days, others will have to be treated and manage themselves, then you can see the picture out there will not look very good. And as he said, we are in the rainy season. Very soon, malaria and other pneumonia, respiratory infections caused by bacteria and pneumonia may come in. Meningitis may be setting in. Many cholera may also come with its own problem. Cancer, HIV, tuberculosis, many other things happen within the rainy season. So if there is any drastic action to take, I think that this is the time to do that. And like I said, the health workers, are primarily very, very important. If we don't protect them and give them a breathing space for them to reorganize themselves and then support the health system, then we will run this problem where we will empty the health facilities. The buildings will be there, but the people who are needed to help and take care of us will not be there. And we don't have to get to this point. We still have some period, some flexibility to deal with this as early as possible. So we don't risk getting to the point where we'll have them becoming infected and even dying. And they're also human beings. I said earlier that some of the health workers have chronic diseases. Some of them are hypertensive themselves. Others are diabetic. Others are asthmatic. And they are risking their lives with their own comorbidities to save patients. And if I see my colleague is infected and unfortunately has died, there will be fear. Psychologically, the strength and the energy to even work on patients, even come to work, it will be a problem. So you need to rechannel resources to this health sector, look at them closely and put in all energy to help support them. Else, I don't know how things will become if we don't do something about this. Things may not be what we expect to see.
Dr. York, what should we look forward to? What are your expectations? What should we look forward to?
I think we've said them. With the increasing numbers, with increasing deaths that we are seeing, and the easing of restrictions, it gives room for concern. Like I said before, we need to change gears and engage meaningfully. And engaging means that every group of persons that matter in this equation of controlling COVID is important. The academicians or the academics, the scientists, the anthropologists, the epidemiologists, the politicians themselves on both sides, the traditional rulers. And for me, they are important. The municipal authorities, they are key in enforcing local, the measures that we put in place, which are being not followed, And I think we should rededicate a lot more resources to make sure that we provide enough PPEs for frontline workers or health workers in general. I don't think there's a need to categorize them. Health workers in general, so that one, they feel psychologically safe even before they approach a patient. And I've seen patients suffer sometimes because the doctors or the healthcare professional feel inadequately protected. So let's look at these things and refocus and re-energize, provide a lot more resources, intensify public education, and let's see whether that is at all possible to look at hotspots and impose local restrictions.
How do we reduce concerns and apprehension of the society, Dr. Owusu? Dr. Owusu? Dr. Owusu? Okay, we seem to have lost Dr. Owusu.
Can you come again? I didn't get your question.
How do we reduce public anxiety and concern on the psychological part of because of the incremental number of cases?
Yes, Roland, I think that the public must get to know the truth, what is happening on the ground, so that they can support the government and all the other ministries to implement their measures. It looks like there is a gap between what the public feels and what the initiative the government or the public health division want to take. Because the public feels there is no problem. They feel that everything is fine. They think that we can go about our normal duties. But then those of us on the ground feel that no, the way things are going, based on the evidence we are seeing, the picture doesn't look good. So in order for us to make advances, we need to bring them on board. They have to think like we are thinking. They also have to understand and see the full picture of what is likely to happen if things are not done properly. I'm sure when we get a buy-in from the public, they can support the initiatives of government and then at least help the government to implement these measures we are recommending. So I think that knowing the truth that yes, the virus will run its natural course. You can't stop the virus. The cumulative numbers will go up. But then when your transmission rate is increasing at such a faster rate and is having pressure on the healthcare system, it's not good news. This is not good news for us. And therefore, the need for us to change strategy is very, very is needed at this critical stage. And they must not feel anxious. They shouldn't feel anxious. They should know that we are telling them the fact, and this is the truth. And they must support government to be able to take bold decisions that will protect their very lives, including myself, protect all of us, and then we can reduce deaths that could happen in the course of the coming weeks.
Well, thank you. I wish you all the best, especially the colleagues of Dr. York who are in the wards and doing the normal clinical work. And of course, those are the lab too. They also face the same risk. Nobody is immune, so to speak. Dr. Ernest York is chair, the Ghana Medical Association for Greater Accra. And thank you for joining me. Dr. Michael Owusu is with the testing center and the research center called the KCCR, based in Kumasi. And the two of you, exemplary, have exhibited good citizenship, and we're hoping that the content that we've provided this morning will serve a great guide. So far, I get it that Dr. Michael Owusu is advocating a localized lockdown in the specific areas where the cases are increasing, even though Dr. Ernest York says, well, it should be one of the considerations, not necessarily, because he knows the implications on whether government would want it or not. But the question is, we're in dire straits. Thank you, the two of you. However, we've pitched this and what you've taken out of it, it also means that we all have to be cautious. We're in dire straits, according to what the experts say based on their observation. Give us more feedback, and you can do that through Facebook Joy News on TV, and through our Twitter handle at Joy News on TV, and the comment section on Joy News TV, as well as myjoyonline.com, where we have a YouTube channel and aggregator platform as our website. In the meantime, let me run this by you. For the show that you've always been in troubled times, for the love and affection that you've always portrayed, for the stern yet essential admonishments you gave when we faltered, for pointing us in the right direction when we strayed, we say thank you, Dad. Pamper your dad with our special Father's Day package and enjoy a 1-month free subscription on the Graphic News Plus app. And the rate for this event is a cool 250 Ghana cedis. And the partners are Lisa Hotel, Silver Star, and ATL, proudly also brought to you by the Mirror, Ghana's most popular weekend newspaper. And Graphic Courier is also on board. So fast, so easy. We hope that you patronize this event and have a time of your life within this COVID times. As we move on, we need to discuss the MPP primaries. We have 168 vacant parliamentary candidacy seats or positions. We have a number of incumbents. We want to speak to a number of these contestants from the Western region, particularly. Mama Vio Sawaji will do that next. Do stay with us.
It's barely 48 hours now to the NPP primaries, and we're turning attention to the Western region this morning. Some of the candidates that we're going to be talking to via Zoom, but there's also a friend of the show who fortunately is going unopposed. He's the MP for Sekondi, Andrew Egyapa-Mensah, will join us on this conversation. Also on is Kwesi Baini, who is an aspirant for Ahanta West. He's a former first vice chairman of the NPP in the Western region, seeking to unseat the incumbent Ebenezer Kojo-Kum. Also joining us in this conversation will be the Member of Parliament for Takoradi, who is also the Regional Minister, Kwabena Ochre Darko-Mensah. We'll also have joining the conversation Mr. Joseph Kudjo, the Member of Parliament for Efia. These two, they've got people trying to take them off their seats as well. So let's start the conversation with Andrew Egyapa-Mensah, who is joining us. Hopefully he can hear me. Good morning to you. Mr. Mensah, good morning. Mr. Mensah, can you unmute so that I can hear you? Oh, I can hear you.
My mic is actually...
Exactly. It wasn't your fault, but I think I'm getting either some feedback, either from the television or something of a sort. We'll try and work that out.
There's no TV on in my house at the moment.
Okay. Thank you very much. Record set. But congratulations to you. I mean, there's no contest in your constituency, Mr. Mensah.
Thank you very much. Thankfully, there's no contest, yes.
Yeah, but how did you do it? I mean, I thought there was somebody who really wanted to battle with you.
Well, let me say good morning to your church viewers this morning. And of course, take this opportunity to wish my beautiful wife a 40th birthday. Today is my wife's birthday, so there's some little bit of noise in the house. We're doing a social distancing small gathering just so that we can celebrate it.
Great.
But yes, like you said, initially we got indication. Indeed, some gentlemen picked nomination forms to contest. However, when we went for the vetting, I'm told that the vetting committee felt that, having regard to the responses that he provided in answer to the questions that were posed to him, they deemed him unsuitable, or he did not meet the requirements under our rules to contest. So he himself, voluntarily, being confronted with the facts, then decided to opt out of the process. So that accounted for my going unopposed in this particular year.
Okay, great. So congratulations to you again. We know.
Thank you very much.
We know what you do in Parliament in terms of your contribution. I don't live in your constituency, but the fact that the party is allowing you to go again means that you're doing a great thing. Hang in there for us.
We're trying.
Hang in there for us. Let me try and see if I can get Mr. Baini into the conversation. He's aspiring to be MP for Ahanta West. Mr. Kwesi Baini, good morning to you. Good morning, Mr. Baini. Hello, Mr. Baini. Okay, Mr. Baini can't quite hear me, so we're going to try and work on that. Can I say hello to another person if we have somebody else? Okay, so Mr. Mensah, let me finish this conversation with you then. What have you been doing in Sekondi that you're hoping that this second term, it's not a done deal for you yet because you have the NDC to battle with before you can go to Parliament, but what are you hoping that a second term will afford you?
Well, I believe that the good people of Sekondi are very much aware of the little contribution that we've tried to make over the past 3.5 years to improve the lot of our people. Of course, there are some major infrastructure projects that are dear to all of us' heart, particularly the market in Sekondi, which has delayed a little bit, but that in itself is being worked on. We've been able to procure some roads for some communities that have not had roads for like forever. We've done some community centers for some of the communities. Of course, basic things that every MP does. You know, school fees support, scholarships, health infrastructure, and the works. So I guess that when the time is up, that we have to go back to the people of Sekondi to render account for our stewardship over the past 3.5 years and to seek their mandate for another term. There's a lot of things that I believe we can articulate. And of course, our broader vision for reviving economic activity in Sekondi, which still is ongoing. A lot of preparatory work has gone in there, and I'm hopeful that if they renew our mandate and we're able to do another term, we're sure we'll be able to achieve many of the things.
But why are you making development project infrastructure your business? Your business really is in Parliament to make laws.
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Mensah, I was asking why you're making development part of your business when your business really is to make laws in Parliament.
Unfortunately, the nature of our development as a nation is really low in terms of needs that the people have. Yes, we all have the recognition that the MMDCEs, the assemblies, are directly responsible for development activities within our various constituencies. But it's important that as the people's representative, you go out there, work, liaise with the MMDCEs, lobby, solicit for support from central government, because you sit here and ensure that some of these things that the constituents need, we work to make it happen. So yes, development is not my core function, but as a developing country, every MP, and I'm sure you are very much aware, works in concert with their MMDCs to ensure, of course, ministries across the various sectors to ensure that the needs of their people are met.
So what would you say the 3 things that are absolutely needed in Sekondi today?
Can you take that again?
So I was asking you to name the 3 things that are crucial to the Sekondi constituency.
Well, the Sekondi people need a decent market where people can trade and do business from. Our market is pretty old. Thankfully, it is part of phase 2 of the Sekondi Takoradi Market Development Project, where Sekondi Takoradi Market Circle is starting. As we speak, the consultants are working on drawings, and we are hopeful that before the end of the year, appropriate financial resources will be made available by government to make it happen. Of course, health and also job creation. And so we are working closely with the Ministry of Transport to ensure that the proposed port expansion from Takoradi to Sekondi, which obviously would open up Sekondi economically, also happen. So these are 3 things that I believe are there to Sekondi, for which we are doing whatever it is that we can to ensure that at least we are also, by the time that we step out of the public space, I would have some legacy that we can point to as having contributed to the development of Sekondi.
So the fact that you're going on a post means there's no contest. So typically what's going to happen to you on Saturday? Mr. Mensah, I'm asking what the process would be since there's no contest. Are you going to greet?
Yes, the rules that the party has indicated is for us to address our various constituents. And so I'll be going around. Of course, we don't have to congregate people in excess of 100. So we've grouped our various electoral areas where they are not up to 50 into groups of 8 or 7, I believe, so that we can go around and address them, indicate to them what it is that we have done over the past couple of years, and urge them on to work as seriously on the ground, because those are our frontline men. They are the people who go out house to house in their various communities to campaign for the party. They articulate our message quite clearly so that they can go out there the next 6 months to do a good job in ensuring that the round 2 agenda of maintaining His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo's government to do more for the good people of Ghana is attained. And so that's exactly what we're going to do beginning tomorrow and end on Saturday.
Okay. Mr. Mensah, I'm going to let you go. But after addressing you as Mr. Mensah, let me address you as Bobo, just for your wife's 40th birthday. Before we wrap up. Fine. So for her, as she celebrates her birthday today, I'm wondering if I can push you so you can do a birthday song just before you go.
Oh, Mommy, please. Well, I guess I can try.
I called Bobo. I didn't say Mr. Mensah, so you have to try. Let's hear you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, my dear wife. Happy birthday to you.
Okay, that will pass. Happy birthday to you, Mrs. Mensah. Hopefully she's watching. And say hello to your mom for me as well.
Very well, I'll do so.
Okay, all right. That's Andrew Ejapa Mensah, Member of Parliament for Sekondi. He's going unopposed at Saturday's contest. We will come back with more of the candidates in the Western region. Stay with us. Also watching the AM show, we're touching base with some candidates in the Western region. Aspirants in Ahanta West, Mr. Kwesi Baini joins us via phone. Mr. Baini, good morning to you.
Good morning, my dear.
Great. How ready are you for Saturday?
Very much ready. Very much ready. I was the first person to set the ball rolling. In terms of going around, meeting the delegates, I did the first round before the postponement came. Then we began a second one. So we are very much ready.
Okay. So what have you promised the people of Ahanta West?
The people of Ahanta West know me. Under President Kufuor, I was the district chief executive. And for the 8 years that I served the people of Ahanta West, my achievements are incomparable to any DCE that has ever been there. We have had 7 DCs, and my achievements far outlives the combination of the 6 other DCs. And therefore, the people know me. They trust me. They know I'm capable of delivering to their expectations. So these are my strengths in this competition.
Okay. So I guess before we address the entire people of Ahanta West, you have a hurdle to cross, which is your own delegates. But there is somebody that you're hoping to overtake. What, in terms of what do you bring really to the table? What do you think the delegates have seen in you, reason they want to allow you to be their candidate?
Well, apart from my own record as DCE, the problem that confronts many of our delegates nationwide is that during elections of this nature, people visit them, give them tokens. Once they vote for them, they go and they forget about them. I am assuring my delegates that I am going to make them economically viable in each electoral area. I'm going to empower them so that they will be able to earn some meager incomes that they can use internally to solve very petty problems confronting them as a group and confronting them as individuals, so that the pressure will always not be on political heads like the MP or the DCE or the chairman of the constituency. And this is the first time any politician is offering this promise to them. And they love it because they are human beings. They have their dignity, they have their integrity. It is not fine for them for every day calling people asking for as low as 20 Ghana, 100 Ghana, 200 Ghana. So this is my message to them. And I'm going to fulfill it, God willing. I am going to buy each electoral area, Aboboya, so they can use it, earn money, and use the money according to their own dictates and what they want to do. That's the message I've given to them, and I think they have bought into that message.
But these are huge things that you're promising, so I wonder where you're going to get the funding from, because after you get to Parliament, and we get this a lot, there are MPs who say their constituents will come to them and ask for everything. Meanwhile, they are not supposed to be, they are not money-making machines, or they are where they make laws. If you go to the Parliament it's not a place for business. It's a place of making laws. So where are you going to get the funding from? And don't you think that after this, the expectation would even be higher?
Yeah, that's true. But people make you the MP. People make you the MP. Whatever meager things that you get as an MP, it is people who made you earn those meager things. In return, what are you offering them? It's a matter of me as an MP also making sacrifices so that the people who voted for me and worked for me at the police station level for me to become the member of parliament also see a certain amount of concern from their MP. We should move away from the situation where we meet them, give them 10 CDs, 20 CDs, 50 CDs for them to vote for us, and we forget about them. At my age now, I do not need so much things for myself as an individual. Every excess of income for myself must go to support somebody. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I am going to ensure that the delegates who have held this party in Ahanta West all these years, and Ahanta West has been one of the most loyal constituencies. In fact, the most loyal rural constituency in the Western region as far as the MPP is concerned. And yet, they have not been recognized in their fullest. In fact, not to their expectations.
Well, when you say they have not been recognized, what exactly do you mean, Mr. Baini?
Well, what I mean is that they have always been regarded as voters for people to rise up there and forgotten. That's it. And I am saying that, look, I will recognize you. I recognize your contribution to the party. Each election cycle, you go around working with the people and get them to vote for the party.
Okay.
And I'm going to recognize that.
All right. Mr. Baini, just hold it there for me. Let me bring your colleague in, who you are hoping actually to unseat. That's Mr. Ebenezer Kojokum. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for your time. It sounds like there's stiff competition. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I was just going to say that it looks like there's stiff competition in Ahanta West. How are you preparing yourself for Saturday?
Thank you very much, and a very good morning to your cherished listeners. I think that we've made contact with almost all the delegates in the constituency. We've given them our message, and then they've listened to the message, and they are very hopeful. I am very confident that on Saturday, the delegates will give me a resounding victory for me to continue the good work that I've started for and on behalf of the good people of Ahanta West in the Parliament of Ghana.
So what would you say have been your achievements? You've been in Parliament at least for a while now. What have you achieved for the people of Ahanta West?
I believe that the good people of Ahanta West have had their fair share of the largesse that Excellency the President Nana Akufo-Addo are giving Ghanaians, flowing from the MPP party's manifesto. Beyond that, my focus has actually been on human capacity development, education, health, and then sanitation and infrastructure. So these key areas, there's a lot to celebrate, and I believe that the good people of Ahanta West, and for that matter, the delegates, will appreciate all these things, and on Saturday, they will renew my mandate for me.
What are the top 3 issues confronting the people of Ahanta West?
Unemployment, infrastructure, and then human capacity development. These are the 3 key issues confronting us, and I believe that His Excellency the President has done a lot for the good people of Ahanta West during the 2.5 years that he's been in the health department.
So what would you do differently if they should retain you?
I'm already doing a lot of things to affect the lives of the people, and I believe that when I'm retained, I'll continue in the same direction.
So, just before I wrap up with you, Mr. Baini is also on the line. Mr. Baini, can you hear me?
I can hear you very well.
So, it's just the 2 of you going on this battle in Ahanta West. Have you communicated, the 2 of you? I mean, definitely one person will win, the other person would lose. Has there been a certain agreement?
Agreement in terms of what? In
terms of if you win, you know, you're going to extend a hand to the person who loses?
Certainly, yes. Certainly, yes. Unfortunately, contrary to laid down regulations, more than half of the constituency executives are campaigning openly.
They're campaigning for you?
No, for the incumbent MP. I mean, contrary to laid down regulations.
Why do you think so? Why do you think they're doing that?
Well, they want to. I have no problem with that. But being constituency executive, one would have expected that they will be fair and impartial, even though they have their own preferences. And that preferences must be exhibited during the voting.
Okay, but that certainly doesn't make you happy. What have you done about it?
Well, they have made up their mind. They have made up their mind, and therefore I am working, ignoring whatever they are doing, and working on my own. And I can tell you, by close of Saturday, Isibani would have won. On impeccable record of achievement in the district as DCE for 8 years, that nobody has been able to match.
Okay.
And I'm campaigning on my achievements and my ability to add to it. There are so many projects that I began, and 12 years after I left office, they are sitting there. Some of them are collapsing. And the people think that Isibani should come back and at least help complete those projects in the overall interest of the people of the Ahanta West constituency. And this.
Mr. Kojokum, let me ask you the same question. I'm sure it's crossed your mind. You are incumbent. There's a possibility that you could lose in this contest. Are you going to extend a hand and take the loss in good faith if it happens?
Yeah, I want to assure you that I'm going to win this election. And I hope that Mr. Bani was in the contest the last time and he lost. He never participated in the activities of the constituency. I hope and pray that when he loses this time around, he will come over for us to work together to work for the good people of Ahanta. Thank you very much.
All right. I wish you two gentlemen the very best. Well, whoever wins, I hope that the other person would extend a hand of support and look at the bigger fights. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you too.
All right. So the two candidates fighting off and trying to get the position as candidates on the ticket of the NPP, Kwesi Baini and Ebenezer Kojokum, joining us via phone, representing the Ahanta West constituency of the Western region. We will be back. Stay with us. You're watching the AM Show.
And you know that these MP aspirants or even the incumbent are doing this within the period of coronavirus, so social distancing will be observed when the election is convened as the primaries by the NPP. We'll bring that all live to you, but talking about coronavirus is still on, and you would know that on Wednesday we had the Director for Health in the Ashanti region convening a press conference and then informing the general public that treatment facilities for COVID-19 are now full, and not only in Kumasi but other peripheral facilities as well. So we're having a tour of the treatment facility ongoing currently at the Kumasi South Hospital because we need more beds, so to speak. Ohimi Nteria is the man always on the beat from the Ashanti regional capital. And Ohimi, so far, what can you tell us?
Good morning, Roland. Yes, we are reaching our viewers live from the Kumasi South Hospital, one of the treatment centers for COVID-19 in the Ashanti region. As you have already known, the Ashanti region has two treatment centers, one at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital, an 18-bed facility. We are told that one is meant for critically ill COVID-19 patients. And then Kumasi South Hospital, coincidentally, the regional hospital for Ashanti region, is the biggest treatment center with 22 beds here in Kumasi. This is also meant to treat moderately ill patients of COVID-19. Just yesterday, the Regional Director of Health, Dr. Emmanuel Tinkran, announced that treatment centers in the region are full, except that with the isolation centers, that is 207-bed capacity isolation center, it already has 156 patients on admission. So this morning, we took it upon ourselves to visit the Kumasi South Hospital to see how expansion work that the Regional Director announced is going. He said, with the completion of expansion works, they expected that at least 100 beds will be added to the already 38-bed treatment centers in the region. So here at the Kumasi South Hospital, additional 20-bed capacity treatment center space is being created for the treatment of COVID-19 patients here in Kumasi. So behind me is a treatment center, and just here I've seen a couple of workers who are busily working on site, and this is already built a facility that needs a small, what I would say from my own layman's point of view, it doesn't require so much of work to put it in shape. But we'll be speaking to the medical superintendent for Kumasi South Hospital, Dr. Ofori Buadu, for more details on how work has been ongoing. So it's interesting to see that you are doing this to support the COVID-19 treatment in the Ashanti region. Let me find out from you, already before COVID-19 came into existence, there were discussions that Kumasi South Hospital is already overstretched, and now you have additional responsibility. How is your facility coping with this new trend?
COVID has become the center stage of treatment, the past 3-4 months. And so we had no option than to support the effort of government, to see our brothers, to see our sisters. So yes, we are overstretched. The bosses, the Director General, the Regional Director himself are very much involved in their management. I must say that last Friday, the DG himself was here. Dr. Kumar Buaji was here to assess the situation. And then together with the Regional Director of Health, we have been directed to do some expansion works so that we can accommodate a few more of the COVID-confirmed moderately ill cases. So that's how come we are expanding, we are doing this.
Now you have 2 more, or let me say more facilities to be used as treatment centers for COVID-19.
Yes, it's not magic, it's just management. What we had to do, like we said earlier, we have suspended some services, and then we had this what we call the antenatal ward. So what we did was to reassign the nurses and then the cases here to another site of the hospital, to the VIP ward, and then that's where those cases are being managed. And then we have, like you can see, converted the entire block to COVID management.
All right, so Dr. Bodi, can we go inside and see how work is ongoing?
Sure. So the whole area here are going to be, they are going to level the place, put some, so that access to the place becomes easy. You know, we have a protocol for our treatment centers: the green area, the red area, the entry for staff, entry for patients, exit for staff, you know, and so all these have been considered. So here you are with, we have 1, 2, 3, 4,
Hello,
5, 6.
We are there touring the treatment facility at the Kumasi South Hospital, and we're going to bring you more of this news at 10. He'll be there, and then we'll go live to him once again. But you can see the pictures are live, definitely. But well, that's it, right?
So this will have a 100-bed exactly. Yeah. Well, we want to say happy birthday to Joseph Joe Jetwa from your brother Nanayao. God bless you with more ages. It's your birthday today. Enjoy your birthday, Joseph Joe Jetwa. And Roland has some shouts before we wrap.
Yes, the very Reverend Father Minta of the St. Patrick Atomic Church is also wishing a number of or giving a number of wishes to Father Hilary Agbonosi of the Saint Belikita Church at the Community
Bakita.
20 area. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Father Amos Abinyi of Cape Coast Diocese as well.
All right, so the tour of that facility will be on News Desk in the next hour. Thank you for watching the AM Show. We'll see you tomorrow, God willing.